champions! Champions of Europe finally! History made in Istanbul! The treble complete! The greatest story in club history has ended! And what a final chapter!
Well, that was a good game of football, wasn't it? That was pretty entertaining stuff. 4-4 at Stamford Bridge. What the fucking hell was that? Absolutely insane football. You know, really, really entertaining from the neutral perspective. There's so many things. I don't know where to start. There were so many insane moments and factors that went into the game and lessons just refusing to be learnt from City's side of things. Defensively, a bit all over the shop. Same can be said about Chelsea. Anyone who concedes 4 really should be looking at themselves defensively, and we've both done that today. Not many times you can say that. There is some finger pointing that I'm trying to avoid doing. I think Rodri, albeit he scored, I think the tactics exposed Rodri today. But there was no tactics that exposed Ruben Dias for his sloppiness today. I really thought he had one of his worst games in a City shirt. And those who follow my channel will understand that I like Ruben Dias. I like him. I love him. Ruben Dias is a legend for Manchester City. He's an incredible player who will win us more points than he costs us. But he's cost us 2 points today. And it's not just a penalty. You know, going away, you're 4-3 up and you think, right, go on. Just shut up shop. Keep it simple now. Just play our usual game. And I knew the second we'd scored that 4th goal, there was a moment when Jack Grealish received the ball after we'd gone 4-3 up. And Bernardo Silva was in ahead of him. But it was a difficult ball. Jack Grealish, and knowing Pep and Pep's style of play and all the players that we have, is go for it. Let's go for the jugular. Let's make it 5-3. That game didn't need that mentality. This is the one game where we needed to revert back to that Inter Milan Champions League final mentality, where it's a case of that defending that we did in that Champions League final. I mean, this was Chelsea's Champions League final, the way they played and the way they celebrated a 4-4 draw at the end of the game. Clearly, this means a very positive news for them. Pochettino coming on and at the end of the game, kicking off on the referee as well. I mean, really, this was a game that City are walking away from disappointed, and Chelsea can go and be like, because of the form that they've been in, they'll feel good about themselves. They've scored 4 against the champions of Europe and the champions of England, the treble winners. They've taken points off us, and they were out of form. And you forget the Spurs result, because that was an anomaly. I don't consider that as a gathering of form, but now you're looking at Chelsea, they're going to get a bit of momentum using this. At the end of the day, we're top of the league. That's what matters. We could have even afforded to lose this game as long as it wasn't by 3 or 4-0. We would have stayed top today, but that's not the point. I'm still so frustrated in how the game panned out, considering we took the lead so many times and refused to just absorb a bit of pressure for a bit. I'm sure everyone will remember, any City fan will remember those last 10 minutes in Istanbul against Inter Milan. The Ruben Dias clearances off the line and heading it away, and some incredible defending from Ruben Dias, Ederson saves, punches. Everything was brilliant. Everything was brilliant from City in that. That type of defending won us so many points at the end of last season. It really did. Amazing stuff that we saw, and today I didn't see any of that. Didn't see any sort of defensive nous. I thought Guardiola was a bit harsh on him in the watch long. I thought he could have done more at the time with their second goal to go 2-1 up. Difficult to do anything with it in that situation, because he's running with the ball about approaching his heels and he gets it caught under his feet. Not much he could have done with that. The amount of times Ruben Dias was giving it away, though. Just so many simple balls trying to feed a 10-yard pass. Just there, he's booting it off Rodri's face at one point. You know, Rodri's in front of you, mate. Can you not see him? He just smashes it right into Rodri's face. And it clatters off Rodri's face, and away go Chelsea on the counter-attack. And then you're thinking Broja's got his chance in front of goal, and you're thinking Broja's going to either hit this and just try and get in front of the ball. Don't attack the man. Don't attack the man. There was no way that tackle was coming off in that situation. Arguably, you see if Ederson can do his job. You try and let him shoot in that situation, arguably, or get in front of him. To fly through him like that, it's just so rash. And Kyle Walker was there as well. Kyle Walker had an opportunity to get a foot in for that, to allow them to do that. And Sterling can fuck off, as far as I'm concerned. I'm done with this whole respect for our older players and stuff. I'm all about respect for players that used to play for us. You know, when he scored, he had this horrible smirk on his face and he ran past the City fans, but he was doing that. So I'm like, okay, benefit of the doubt. You thought about celebrating, then I thought 50-50 in celebrating. Okay, benefit of the doubt. No benefit in the doubt in flattening Phil Foden and telling him to get up, you shithouse. You absolute sack of shit, mate. Oh, what a joker. Absolutely. Honestly, I'm fuming. I'm fuming at Raheem Sterling to do that to a colleague of his, an England colleague, and then to go through him. You've spent years together with Phil Foden. You know, flattening him was one thing, and I can forgive him for that because that's football. You tackle, you hit him hard. That's football. You see them as the enemy when you're on the pitch. But to then just to do that, get up, telling him to get up. And I fucking loved it when Kovacic flattened him 2 minutes later. Kovacic went through Sterling 2 minutes later, and I'm screaming, get up, Sterling. Honestly, I'm done. That really wound me up. Anyway, that's not the main highlight of the game. I don't know where else to start. The penalty at the beginning. I think City fans are going to claim it was a penalty. By the letter of the law, it was a penalty because I think the major difference between Højlund and Rodri's penalty at Old Trafford was the fact that Rodri was purely trying to get past him and only one of them was doing the grabbing and the pushing. The difference this time is the fact that both Cucurella and Haaland were both grabbing each other before the ball comes in. Now, as the ball comes in, Haaland lets go of that 50-50 battle with Cucurella. Let's go, and almost pulls his shirt a little bit to use him as momentum. Could have been a foul, that, to be fair. Could have been a foul. But again, Cucurella's pulling him as well. So if you're going to give Haaland a foul, then Cucurella's already fouling him as well. So that had to be nullified because they were both doing it. Therefore, you can't give a foul for what they're both doing, effectively. And then the moment Haaland lets go, he's through. Then that big arm comes round Haaland, grabs him, pulls him down, and I mean, yeah, that's the penalty. That's the penalty, and I can see why people might be frustrated, but by the letter of the law, that's a penalty. Tucks it away really well. And then the save from the free kick, the precedent was set straight away. You could see we were in for a mental night of football. As soon as we'd scored, obviously Chelsea were fired up. They come down the other end. We go flying in for another tackle, give away a free kick on the edge of the area. Rash, I can't remember who it was who actually gave it away, but there was no need to give away a free kick in such a dangerous position. Ederson pulls off an absolute worldie. You're thinking, right, we got away with that one. Really good save from Ederson. Corner ball, right, now, set up shop. Zonal marking clearly wasn't the answer for that situation because Thiago Silva was just chilling on the edge of the area and he just ghosts past the whole front line of that zone that we were marking in the penalty area and gets into the near post. A good, well-worked corner from Chelsea's point of view, clearly intentional at the time. I thought it was a poor corner because he sort of gets such a low trajectory on his cross, Conor Gallagher, who was on fire today. He was a pest. A horrible player to play against, Conor Gallagher. He scored plenty of goals against us for Crystal Palace as well. So not someone I'm looking forward to playing again. I hate watching because he does really well against us. He played really well today, Conor Gallagher. Really good performance from him. But I mean, City is defensive there. You've got someone has to see the run because it's not like a little 3-yard run. There was no screening. There was no clever little trickery from Chelsea where they would block to allow Thiago Silva run. It's just a free run to near post. All the space in the world. Someone's got to step across him, slow his run down, make him zigzag, affect him some way, one way or another, affect Thiago Silva. None of that. Boom, heads it in, 1-1. And then, of course, I've already mentioned the Guardiola situation where he was a bit unlucky, where it got caught under his feet and it hits like his heel, lands to Reece James who crosses it for Raheem Sterling. But go back a little bit beyond that. Who's failed to clear the ball again? Ruben Diaz. Before Guardiola had any defending to do, Ruben Diaz just swing and a miss. Well, he swings and he connects with it so pitifully that it lands to Conor Gallagher, who sends in Cole Palmer, and then we're in trouble at that point. And then again, a short corner for the equaliser to make it 2-2. Similar sort of defending from Chelsea. The same sort of words and descriptions that I used for our defending in the corner can be said for Chelsea for their defending, because a short corner into Bernardo Silva, I think it was Enzo who was marking Manuel Akanji and thinks, nah, leave him, be all right, leave him, it's fine, no problem. Just wanders off onto the edge of the area. Bernardo Silva just pops one into the box and Akanji free header. Akanji, by the way, was absolutely sensational. It could have been worse without Akanji today. Some of his defending was brilliant. I do want to call out Pep's tactics, though, because we've all been quite familiar with the half-back role of a centre-back pushing into defensive midfield and sitting alongside Rodri. If it's a case of the game not allowing for that to happen, because it is a case of when we have the ball, the centre-back pushes up and sits alongside. John Stones has been doing it, as you all know. John Stones alongside Rodri. Akanji was kind of looking like he was going to do that role in the first 15 minutes today. But there was barely 3 minutes where one team was genuinely holding that ball well, constantly giving it away, one another. Sometimes it was a case of really good pressing. Chelsea were in our faces. Same can be said about City. We were winning the ball back really well. Other times it was sloppy play from both teams to the point where it's like, well, does Akanji go or does he stick or twist? He doesn't know whether to push forward or stay back. Eventually we ended up with a flat back four, which resulted in Rodri being on his own. Now, Cole Palmer and Raheem Sterling frequently did the opposite of what Pep Guardiola usually instructs his wingers, which is to stay as wide as possible. What they did is they allowed Jackson to push onto Akanji and Diaz, pushing them further back towards Edison, creating a bigger gap between Rodri and his two centre-backs. And Cole Palmer and Raheem Sterling were just tucking in constantly in that second half and finding these pockets behind Rodri. That gets nullified with a double pivot. Two defensive midfielders stop that from happening. And it's why Kovacic comes onto the pitch, because it didn't happen as frequently when Kovacic was on the pitch. And he came on and was brilliant. We're talking about a 15-minute cameo. Kovacic was great when he came on. I thought he was really good. He put in some vital tackles. Receiving the ball, he turned, he sprinted at their goal in a couple of opportunities that he had. I don't think he made a mistake when he came on, Kovacic, but really good. I've been ignoring the chat as I always do in my match reaction because I start waffling, but good to see so many of you in the chat already. Really good to see you. Franklin, Roblox fan, Maurice, love me more, disappointed. I can feel it, mate. I can feel it. JRX, disappointed also. It's a good thing that we're disappointed because they're walking away happy. That's a good sign of where we're at, like mentally as a group of fans and mentally as a club. We're walking away disappointed that we got a draw at Stamford Bridge. And I understand that before the game, immensely disappointing. But there's no way anyone in this, not anyone sane, there's no sane person that would have predicted 4-4 at the start of the game. No way. The way the game panned out becomes disappointing, and even more so because we end up going 4-3 up with 2 minutes to go. Well, it ended up being 10 minutes to go with injury time, but they didn't even need their 8 minutes of stoppage time. I want to watch the game back, but Ruben Diaz, really, really poor today. But tactically, I think Pep was a bit, I don't know. I think in the second half, tactically, we struggled. First half, I think it was just a bit of a slogfest going end to end. Kind of carried on in the second half with a bit of blow for blow. You attack, we attack type football. And I mean, who does that suit more out of City or Chelsea? I'd say probably us, really. Because I think we're more potent than they are. They can't compete with us when it comes to conversion rate. We're much more potent in front of goal. They can't compete to our profligacy. That's like, they miss chances, Chelsea. So you're kind of hoping that they whiff their chances. And they did miss some chances today. Cole Palmer as well, going through. There's an example of exactly the two players that I think performed below their standards. Rodri not quite as bad as Ruben Diaz, and I know Rodri scored, but forget the goal. I think Rodri was exposed today numerous times. But there was a moment where Cole Palmer goes through on goal with Edison, and go and watch it back because I saw it immediately. You tell me in a 2-on-1 situation who should be winning the ball, Ruben Diaz and Rodri versus Cole Palmer. Not only does he beat Rodri and Ruben Diaz, he goes through the middle of them. That becomes a case of like shoulder to shoulder, Rodri on one shoulder, Ruben Diaz on this shoulder, Rodri on that shoulder, and he beats them. What's happening there? Come on. These two players are formidable heroes of Manchester City that we love, but today they were well off it today. And you can't pretend it didn't happen. Let's not paper over the cracks of today's game, because there were cracks there, and Ruben Diaz was a big one. And I think Guardiola was okay. I thought Kyle Walker was really good and Akanji was really good. Akanji was incredible. really. He was so good, Akanji. Some of his defensive performances and tackles and his actions today were really, really good. I'm curious to see what Pep's plans were. Like, what was his tactics? I will be watching the game back again shortly after, tomorrow morning probably, and get my player ratings done at least. But yeah, it was Douglas. It was great to see frenzied Jonny today. Yeah, I was fired up, mate. How do you not get fired up for a 4-4? Honestly, I was absolutely losing my shit, wasn't I? I lost it. That's probably the first time I've lost it, really. But it's good. We're not even past Christmas yet. Wait till... I thought I was going to do it in the Manchester derby because I fucking hate them. Who doesn't hate United? But, apart from United fans. But, yeah, I thought I was going to... But that game turned out to be very, very comfortable. So there was absolutely no reason to get annoyed when you're cruising Man United at the Swamp 3-0. Whereas today I thought they were there for the taking. They really were. Sterling and Palmer had the bit between their teeth. I thought they both had real like momentum and intent to their performances to prove a point. And they'll come away saying, well, we did. Cole Palmer scored, Raheem Sterling scored, so point proven, you know? But it's let's see where everyone is at the end of the season. Terry UK saying, miss John Stones. Jackson gets signed Man City? Nah, Chris, I disagree, mate. I don't rate Jackson yet. I need to see more of him, but I'm still not convinced by Jackson. But I do agree with you, Terry, mate. I do think we missed John Stones. That level of composure was missing today. There was no control. City normally have such great control, don't they? And it was end-to-end and so unlike us. So unlike us. To see us, really give the ball away as frequently as we did and end up in a boxing match, a slogfest, going end-to-end. I'm really surprised how that game panned out. And I mean, the neutral will be watching that going, hey, what a game of football. Incredible football. And I bit myself in the arse at the end of last weekend when Spurs and Chelsea, and I came out and I said, there's no way City get involved in games like that anymore. Which is sad in a way. As a City fan, it's entertaining. Or if we go and win this game 5-4 or 4-3, as we fucking should have done. I'm so annoyed. If we come away winning, we're like, what an entertaining game. And yes, we won. That's what champions do. That's what treble winners do. Those are the words that we would all say. But now we're frustrated because we drew. But what's alarming is how we allowed ourselves to be drawn into a lesser quality football match in terms of like the standard of football. Like the ball retention, possession based. How many turnovers there was in this game is not like City, which is why we don't get involved in 4-4 games. We're never involved in these type of games. And it's our own downfall as to why we were, really, just defensive sloppiness and being so open. And sloppy performances and football can often result in very, very entertaining football. You go and watch some lower league football, you can see some incredible games, but they don't get the headlines because the standard's so shit. But it's amazing to watch end-to-end stuff. And it's not like lower league football today. There was a much higher standard than that, obviously. But still, by our usual standards, the mistakes were way higher than we normally make. And Chelsea were still making the mistakes that they kind of made throughout the season. They were making the same mistakes they were making against Spurs, giving away chances. 9 men Spurs could have and should have equalised against Chelsea. And that was the same Chelsea that turned up today, really. And we've equalised. We've received a last minute equaliser from them from the penalty spot and gone 4-4. Insane. Letty, so we had a bad game. It's a tough one to really analyse. I've pointed the finger quite a bit at Ruben Dias because I think he really was below his usual standards. I think, like I said with Rodri, I think the tactics sort of exposed him a little bit. But I mean, Erling Haaland's coming away with 2 goals again. I thought his number 9 play was really good. There was a moment for I think it was the 3rd goal, in fact, that he was involved in the hold-up play. It was just a one long ball. Bernardo Silva, almost down by his own corner flag, drills it up. Erling Haaland, big chest, brings it down, knocks it across the pitch to Alvarez. Alvarez sends it into Foden and then gets the ball back across to Erling Haaland to make it 3-2. So I think Erling Haaland had a great game. Alvarez was reasonably good. He was okay. I thought Foden was fantastic at times. Some of his movement was really good. He was beating Cucurella, and Cucurella was having a good game as well, and he was really on him. He was physically on him, like his hand was on his shirt almost instantly, as soon as Foden received the ball, Cucurella was there, bang, in your face. And Foden never seemed to panic in that situation, and he got himself out of situations with Cucurella quite well. Doku didn't have his greatest game. He was okay. I thought he beat Reece James a couple of times. Other than that, there wasn't really much to talk about from Doku. I thought Reece James did probably the best defensive performance we've seen against Doku. But he still got beat a few times, you know. Cole Palmer ended up tackling Doku at one point, didn't he? Getting a toe on it, sending it out for a corner. I thought Jack Grealish came on, and we saw that link-up play again, didn't we? With Bernardo Silva and Jack Grealish. The same link-up play that we saw against Old Trafford against United. And I want to see more of that, because I think those two are almost telepathic. There was some link-up play that those two were doing in that second half today, in particular at Old Trafford, but definitely today as well. That was so good, you know, the finding pockets of space and just quite simple stuff. You know, it's a case of tracking the runner from a Chelsea point of view, but from City's point of view, they were just cohesively moving together, so fluid. And I want to see more of that. I really do want to see more of that. Potentially see Jack Grealish tuck inside. People were crying out in the watch along that bring on Jack Grealish for Alvarez and play him as a number 10 and keep Doku on, which could have worked potentially. The issue was that Pep saw his own mistake, that Rodri was left on his own far too frequently, and that's why Kovacic has to come on and sit alongside Rodri in those last 15 minutes. And once that happens, we look the better side for the last 15 minutes. And it was just one daft moment where we gave the ball away, get Chelsea into a counter-attacking opportunity again, and then Ruben Diaz comes in like a bull in a china shop and goes mental through him. Shouldn't be doing that. And you're thinking Ederson might sneak a save, but wasn't to be. I can't remember Ederson ever saving a penalty. He's not like he's a bad keeper, but he doesn't save penalties, does he? I had no faith in that not ending up in the back of the net, and there was no saving it. He buried it, Cole Palmer, fair play to him. But ultimately, it's really disappointing from a instant point of view. I think we'll look back tomorrow morning and go, that wasn't as bad as it feels right now. You know, because the fact that we went 4-3 up is a killer. It really is a killer. Douglas Wright, Sterling can fuck right off. They went man-to-man. You're absolutely right, Douglas. I didn't mention that at all. I felt like they were on us, weren't they? And there's a reason why they were in our faces. They went man-to-man against City. No one does that. I'm sure another team's recently done it against us and done well against us as well. I can't remember who it was. But very few teams do it because you have to. They have the energy, don't they? They have the players that can do it. Chelsea, Caicedo and Enzo, like they're reasonably mobile players, clever players, positionally very clever players. Sterling and Cole Palmer are decent at pressing as well. Cucurella and Reece James, horrible one-on-one defenders to get past. You can't. I mean, would they have played Colwell, who picked up an injury before the game? Maybe. I mean, I think we've seen more of Cucurella than we have seen of Colwell in the last couple of years. To have more of an understanding of what Cucurella was going to bring to the team compared to Colwell. But Cucurella was almost perfect for Phil Foden. And even though Phil Foden did very well, Cucurella was great. A bit lucky to not get a second yellow card, Cucurella, because he was diving, wasn't he, in that second half. When Phil Foden, he just jumped in the air. He looked like Phil Foden was going to kick him, but he didn't. And then he jumped in the air. Should have been a second yellow. Doku diving as well. That was pretty cringe, wasn't it? That was embarrassing. Even Doku was like, yeah, shit. Tried to cheat. Yellow card. Oh, well. Never mind. But Othuke, Ruben made so many mistakes. Okay, Diaz cost us, then we should have won. Asks Letty, yeah, more or less. I mean, let's not get harsh on Ruben Diaz, though, because let's forgive and forget now, mate. Ruben Diaz had a clanger today. A real nightmare of a performance from Ruben Diaz, but he will win us games later on in this season. He will. You know, he's been really good this season, Ruben Diaz. So I don't want this to become a pattern of hate now towards Ruben Diaz. But still, you know, it was a shocking performance. Chelsea away draw is okay, mate, says Benny. Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, like I say, tomorrow morning we'll look at the league table and we'll feel all right. You know, we've gone into the international break, top of the Premier League, on points as well. None of this shit that we heard before the game. Oh, Arsenal and Liverpool are joint top. No, they're fucking not. They're second and third. There's a reason the league table has a list. Stop trying to paint a picture that is not there. Absolute nonsense. Joint top. Bollocks, joint top. You know, if City were second or third, they wouldn't say we're joint top, would they? They'd say Arsenal or Liverpool are top. City have got to claw their way back. No, yeah, it's bollocks. Anyway, we're top now on points, so we can't even call it joint top anymore. Time to battle Liverpool, says Big M. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't write off another sort of game like this, because, I mean, Liverpool are the same type of frenzy performance, that franticness is even more evident in Liverpool's style of play. And there was a couple of moments, I watched the Liverpool game today as well, and there was a couple of moments where I thought, not Ruben Diaz, Van Dijk looked a lot better than I've ever seen him play. And that's terrible news for City, because if he finds his feet, the reason why I still feel City are the absolute favourites to win the league, and Arsenal just second favourites, and Liverpool third favourites on recent form, that was. I said at the start of the season, Liverpool, but now Liverpool for me might be creeping back up, because if they find form in their defence and stop leaking goals, which they've done today, with Van Dijk playing well, opportunities for Brentford as well. That's the thing, they had opportunities, Brentford, but there were a couple of times where Van Dijk dealt with situations that were difficult. So if they get Van Dijk back to like an 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10 Van Dijk that we saw 2-3 seasons ago, then City have got a major title threat from Liverpool coming our way. We really could do. It was like City-Liverpool game, you're right, says Douglas. I truly wish Stones is available for Liverpool. Hopefully, real Mario. Hopefully, buzz off Mario. Hopefully you're talking about Mario as in, it's me, the Mario. But yeah, I truly wish Stones is available for Liverpool. If he's back, that's massive, because you got to go straight in, hasn't he? He's got to go straight into that defensive midfield role, sit him alongside Rodri, and I feel happy. I feel like we've got more solidity in that midfield. And Akanji can do what Akanji does best and what we saw him do today defensively. On the ball, Akanji is very trustworthy. You know, I really feel confident with him on the ball, which is why he can do that John Stones role. If he's asked to do it against Liverpool, it's not going to be as good as John Stones, but it's still okay. The thing today was he wasn't even doing that role. Rodri was on his own for huge periods of that game and was exposed. But yeah, Diaz on fraud watch, SDL. Mate, he's not a fraud. It's just that everyone's entitled to a bad game. Everyone's entitled to a bad game, and a bad game he had, unfortunately, for City. Prime Mangala says SDL. Yeah. Yeah, Section 20, mate. You're absolutely right. Best value for money, Akanji. 15 million. 15 million. Nearly 220 in the building, 65 likes. If you could smash the like button, blues of both sides, if there's Chelsea fans watching or neutrals, it really does help grow the channel, expose this channel to other City fans and others that want to find it. It will really help. If you could smash the like button, please do. And thanks very much for joining me in this chat as well. Good to see so many new faces in the chat as well. But yeah, Ruben Diaz is the negative theme of this stream, and I don't want it to be all about him too much, because I don't want to pick on players too much, but really frustrating. 4-4. I mean, what a game of football. I can't wait to watch the highlights. There is part of me that's like genuinely excited to watch the highlights, albeit I know at the end of the highlights I'm going to be going, for fuck's sake, how did we draw that game? You know, how did we draw that game? That's the feeling I'm going to get after watching them, but I can't wait. So it's highlights tonight, full match in the morning for me, and then doing the player ratings after that. Come and join me for that. I'll be doing the player ratings in the morning. Be interesting to see what Ruben Diaz gets. I'm really interested to see what Ruben Diaz's stats are going to be, you know, because a lot of his mistakes today, and his positional sense was one thing that stood out to me. Positionally, he was all over the place. And there's not only a heat map can provide an understanding of a defender's position. You know, there's no stat for where you position yourself, you know, and that becomes subjective and an opinion based of where you should be as a centre-back. But I can hear my 6-year-old lad running around outside. He's dying to probably speak to me, so I'm going to go and speak to him and see what he has to say about the game. Hear his insightful knowledge as a 6-year-old. Anyway, Blues, thank you very much for joining me. Again, if you can drop a like on the stream, it really does help. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.